Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica on our long-running series, Unported Playlist, where we take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And today I'm 100% cheating, because this was ported, but I'm doing it for a very specific reason. I'll tell you why in a second. But before we get too far involved if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It really helps us out. And we do have a Patreon if you're so inclined to support the channel. The link is below. But the reason I am covering Magic Sword, even though it was ported on compilations to PlayStation 2, is this is one of the fundamental memories I have of gaming as a kid. Because I remember one time, and I do not know the context, that my father and I went to the Dream Machine, which is our local arcade in Rutland, Vermont, where I grew up. It was inside of a mall, and it was next to a restaurant called the Artful Dodger, and there was a movie theater next to that. And I don't exactly know why we went that day, but I remember that we played this game from start to finish. And if you've ever been to arcades back in the day, you know that playing a game from start to finish was not a cheap thing to do. And while I got brought to the arcades now and then, it wasn't a constant thing in my life. And for some reason that day, my father just decided we were going to beat this game, and we were going to do it in two-player co-op together. And it is my father's birthday next week. And I'm not sure if he actually remembers doing this. So what I'm going to do is send him the link to this video on his birthday and ask him if he remembers. But in covering all of these different games on the channel and doing the channel in general, I always find that all of these games have some sort of fundamental memory to me. I remember where I was when I played them. And even though I don't remember anything else that happened in this year, I mean, I wasn't that old, but I just distinctly remember playing this game from the very beginning, almost running out of quarters at the end, and my father letting me decide the ultimate decision in the game. And I'm sure you guys all have those same types of stories, because some way or another we're all fans of gaming, and we're definitely going to formulate memories that we take with us forever. And as opposed to giving my dad a gift this year, I figured I'd just kind of give him a memory, because to him it was probably just another day. He decided it would be fun to go to the arcades, maybe I asked, we played this game, we beat it, and he went back to his normal adult life. But kid me remembered it then, and adult me is one of my fondest memories, not just of playing a game as a child, but just being a child, being so excited to be in the arcade, playing something from start to finish. And I still remember, if you could visualize it, you walk in the front door, and on the back left wall they had a row of cabinets of games that weren't hugely popular. If you went in front, to the right there was a skee-ball machine and a couple claw machines, but then they'd have things like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all the games that were making a lot of money. And on that back wall they had some lesser known games, and that's where Magic Sword was. But since we are talking about gaming, let's talk about the game itself. It is your basic 2D beat 'em up, but it has a ton of different features in it, and it's not just a good game because I remember it, it's a good game because it's just a great game. The main principle is that you need to get to the top of the tower and fight the ultimate enemy or boss there. But through each stage, you have to obtain different types of keys, and you'll see them at the bottom. There's 6 different types of keys, and they all have a different function. And as you collect them, you can unlock different doors that will allow you to have different companions along your way. And you'll see here that I brought this samurai ninja in, and he has this vertical Shoryuken attack that allows us to hit the dragon without having to leap too much. So there is a lot of strategy involved in how you play the game, what companion characters you take along with you, and whether or not you decide to roll the dice and unlock another door to see if you get somebody better or worse. Because you never genuinely know who's going to be behind the door. If you use a higher powered key, your odds of getting a higher powered companion to go along in your quest with you are greater, but you could also get a booby trap door, which is going to send out enemies or other things that are going to affect your game in a negative way. So there is a lot of strategy on top of just having to go left or right, beating up all the enemies in front of you and continuing. And I will say that I always loved these type of genre beat-em-ups. I loved watching Conan the Barbarian as a kid. Those sword and sandal epic movies have always been a favorite of mine. So having a game that's kind of set in that exact same genre and environment was a lot of fun. And then graphically for the CPS, it holds up really well. It plays at 60 frames a second, everything's smooth and fluid, the graphics are good for their time, and the soundtrack definitely has that sort of theatrical feel to an action movie in that sort of sword and sandal genre, epic tone to it. And it's just a great game, and if you do want to play it, it emulates perfectly. If you want to get an arcade board, they certainly aren't cheap. But you can also get this on compilations for PlayStation 2. And like I said, we are cheating this week. It's called the Unported Playlist, but this is a port. But it's because it's for my father's birthday. But what I'll let you do is just listen to a little bit of this next boss battle. The music's great, the sound effects are great, everything about the game is superb. And I'll be back in about a minute to tell you a little bit more about my memories about this game. But enjoy, and I'll be right back. So now we are on to the last level of the game, and this is where that fundamental childhood memory really comes into play. Because we were getting short on quarters and we were fighting the boss, my father had to run back to the front desk and change out more cash for coins, and he just told me not to lose before he got back. And my father was always a gaming fan. I don't think he plays much anymore, honestly, but I remember there was one game on the NES. It was a helicopter shmup, and I can't remember the name of it. But we kind of had to take it away from him because he used to bite his tongue a little bit when he played, and he bled a few times, which we all have our little tics when we're playing games. I'm really curious if he's going to remember that, but he always enjoyed games, and I think he wanted to see the ending as much as I did. But the fundamental decision when you get to the end of Magic Sword is you can either, after you beat the boss, decide to align with him, take his orb and become all-powerful, or choose the side of good, destroy the orb, and win the game as a good character. And when I had to make that choice back in the day, my father let me decide what I wanted to do. And I decided to destroy the orb and be good. And to this day, when there's options in games, something like Fallout or any other RPG where you can play as a good or bad character like Skyrim, I always play as the good character, and that's just because it's what I enjoy more. But I think this might be the first time in my gaming history that I was ever given the choice to either be good or bad, and I just decided, well, we spent this much time getting to the end, of course I want to be good. But the fact that my dad just decided to let me make that decision and let me play this game from start to finish, it's just one of those things that, you know, I'm curious if he remembers it, because like I said earlier, this was just a regular day to him. He had an adult life with adult concerns, work to go to, everything like that. For me being a kid, my concern was probably wanting to play more video games. And that's just what I wanted to give him for his birthday because, you know, I'm older now, I'm 36, my father's in his 60s. This was, you know, almost 30 years ago that we played this game, so I'm curious, and he'll tell me, and I'll leave it in the comments what he thinks, he remembers. But here is the orb, and we're going to choose no, just like we did all those years ago in the early 90s, and we win the game in a good manner. But that's the game. If you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. We'll be back on Sunday and Tuesday with more episodes, as well as Friday. But back in the day, my father let me put my initials in the machine, and even though this is just a ROM running on MAME, for the time being, it's going to be his birthday gift. We're putting his initials, WEB, in the machine. Happy birthday, Dad. Thanks for letting me play this back in the day. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.